the government. It loves you and wants to keep you safe and well. It even wants to make paying taxes, fines, and court costs easier for you. How? Well, you'll need to meet your straw man. He was born the same day you were. He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house, but you never knew he existed. You will have even paid his parking tickets or taxes. The worst part? He's been dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name to confuse little old you into thinking it's you. So, there is a human you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a straw man. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all spun from Black's Law Dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand under our authority?" Oops-a-daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super! Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your, straw man's taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new straw man for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like you have. When you notify on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state, and if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away, or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Smacking your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you, but belongs to your straw man, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your straw man is dead, and just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your straw man, so you, the human, take on any costs, fees, taxes, and fines involved for the straw man. The human you doesn't even need to pay them. But you made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or straw man, just like the government knew you would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your straw man. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your straw man, or legal personality, is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy.
Remaining on the weird stuff, okay? And the question is, you notice that when the Queen is in the presence of the Pope, she wears black and bows to the Pope. The Pope wears white. And to the untrained eye, you would think that the Pope is the greatness, the high of this. But when you think about it, and this goes back into the courts as well, she wears black because she's in mourning of the dead. And that's what happens when you go to a funeral. You know, it's not the one in the coffin that's wearing black. It's you. That's in mourning of the one that has died and gone into the coffin. So that's what it's all about. So what happens with the Queen? It's a symbolizing of, she bows to the Pope because she acknowledges the Pope, because that's what a bow is. It's an acknowledgement. And she also wears black because she's in mourning for the dead Pope. The Pope is the one dressed in the white. He's the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, whatever it is. But he is the dead slave. Slaves are dead because slaves have all uppercase names, which is dead names, the land of the dead. They're not from the living anymore. They've entered into the land of the dead. Whereas the Queen holds no surname, so she holds the Christian remedy. She holds this one here, which is just the given name, and that's the remedy of the trust. When Jesus came along and said, "In my name and deed only shall you be saved." Well, the Queen actually is in the Christian name and in the deed only. She doesn't hold a surname. So when she's before the administrator, she is the director, and she remains in the tree or the house of life. So she wears the black. And then when you go into a court, you'll notice that when the magistrates walk in, they're the ones wearing the black. And he'll come in and he'll normally give a quick little bow to the people, and it's strange, this guy's bowed at us. But that's he's walked in, he's acknowledged the deadies that are in the court, and he's acknowledged that they're all the trustees, they're the ones, the slaves, the dead slaves. Then he sits down and then he does the administration of those slaves. So the same thing is happening with the Queen. She's dressed in black to acknowledge the dead Pope, and also when the courts come in, as the debt titles are being conferred down from the Vatican, these trusts, the magistrate becomes the living, and he then confers the debt titles down to the dead trustees that are in the court. So, but I mean, to be into a court, you can't get into a court without a surname. So a surname comes in one of these articles, because when you get a charge or a fine in the mail, it comes in here, and very rarely they'll start to actually hand them over to you, because they're starting to wise up that that's very dangerous. But if it comes into that mail and you open that mail, you've actually entered into the house of the tree of knowledge. You shouldn't have opened it, because that name on these documents, this all uppercase gloss, it's not your surname. This surname might be Australia. It's got Australia on it, but it's in all uppercase. It's not Australia at all. It's a trust. It's from the land of dead. It's a slave name. So the minute you open that, you've claimed that name, the Australia name. And once you've done that and opened that, then that gives you the right to enter into those fraudulent courts, and the magistrate walks in and you're dead. He's dressed in black and he's looking down at you, and you're in there. And how did you get into that court? You claimed it. You claimed the dead name by these articles. So that's how that's the reason why the Queen, she's the living, she represents the living Christ, and she wears black in mourning of the dead. She's the grantor of the trust, and the ship, the trust ship that she's got her cargo in, is the dead slave. And ships, of course, if you put your property into a ship, into a slave, or into a ship, sorry, and that ship started to take control of itself, when you want the ship to go this way and the ship said, no, we're going that way, well, you'd quickly get your stuff back out of the ship, wouldn't you? Because there's something wrong with that ship. It's not going where it's directed. And that's why ships all have all uppercase names. And when you open one of these articles with an all uppercase name like Australia on it, you become the ship, and whoever grants you that becomes the director of it. You become their slave. And that's the symbolism of the whole sort of system. Why they wear black, why they bow. As soon as you get into the court, why that magistrate wears black and then he bows to you. That means he's acknowledged that you exist as the trust ship slave, so you better do as you're told.